Hi, I'm Rodney Durbach, and this is Verses with Vusi.
Thank you, Rodgers, for getting that
Is that
right.
all right? Yeah.
That was good.
It's Daniel from here.
Rodney Durbach, South African legend. Thank you very much for giving me this time. I really appreciate it. I know a lot of people have a lot of time now, so maybe I shouldn't be thanking you that much. But I still appreciate it. I still appreciate it. First things first. What are you drinking?
I'm actually drinking a bit of a South African classic, a rooibos tea.
Rooibos tea. Is it spiked?
Rooibos tea. No.
Unspiked rooibos.
Unspiked rooibos tea. Clean and natural.
Oh, okay. How have you been keeping fit? What have you been doing during this time of quarantine and COVID-19?
Well, it's been a very interesting time. You know, we've had over 2 months now of staying at home. We've been through the levels: lockdown 5, level 4, and now we're on 3. It's been an interesting time. You know, I've got Zoe and Hector with me, and it's been great. You know, the first month and a half, 5-6 weeks, we were really focused on maintaining everything being regular, maintaining rhythms and stuff. So, you know, Hector wasn't allowed to go to school. So obviously that means we didn't have to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning, which was fantastic. So we'd get up, you know, have breakfast, and then, you know, he had a lot of online work to do, and Zoe was working from home. So I was pretty much just on my own, really, just hanging around the house. We could train from 6 to 9. You know, we'd make programs and go out for a run every morning and get them exercising and doing sprints around the block, and just making sure that we did at least sort of one physical session a day. Zoe was working from home, doing as much as she could. So I was just a bit of third wheel, trying to stay out of everybody's way.
No, that's good. Tell me, have you been doing any Netflix binge watching? Anything interesting you've been checking out?
I have watched a couple of things. We've watched one, it's with Christina Applegate, called Dead to Me, or something with the word dead in it. And the first program was a bit odd. Didn't quite get it, but okay, what's the second one? And then a third one, and then it was just like, man, this thing is just like...
It got you.
It got me. It was a little bit dark, hilarious, and then you just think there's no possible way any more can happen to this poor chick, and just more happens. So I really enjoyed that. And then I've got into a few, like one episode of a lot of things, just seeing what it is. Things like, there's one called Jet, which was quite funny. And we've recently been watching one called Killing Eve.
Yeah, I love that show. It's been good. Yeah,
we got into that. We've kind of desperately now waiting for the next episode, because we've caught up all the episodes that there are.
Are you on season 3 yet? I think season 3 just came out maybe a month ago.
Oh, really? No, we like season 1.
Yeah, season 1 and 2 are interesting. Season 3 just got out. You know,
the better.
Yeah, I haven't watched season 3. I haven't watched season 3 yet. So
yeah, that was good. And then we're watching another one called Traces. That was good. Okay. And that's also, we've only watched the first season. There is only one season, so I think that we've seen. So we're waiting for that one to come out. Other than that, I mean, I guess it's one of those things with having a kid in the house. You try and keep the screen time down to a minimum. I think if he wasn't around, then it would be Netflix all day. I've tried to watch the Michael Jordan thing, but again, I've only watched one episode of that.
That is really, I've just finished it. It's really inspiring. Like every time I watch that, I'm like, I want to do some burpees or something. I want to,
Yeah.
so it's been really good. Yeah, you gotta.
Well,
That's
I've
a good
tried
one, and I think it's good with Hector as well. It'd be good to.
Yeah, that is one that we watched together. The first one was a little bit. There wasn't much action. I think it was just setting up the rest of them. So we look forward to watching the others. But as you say, it's something I'll keep to watch with him. Yeah.
No, that's good. Let's get into it. Tell me how you got started in squash.
Well, I got started in squash when I went to Pretoria Boys High School. I did my first year at high school and didn't really know.
Wait. So you only started playing squash in high school?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, my second year in high school. Yeah.
So standard 7.
We didn't really have squash. Well, my primary school didn't have squash.
Mm-hmm. What primary school was that?
Brooklyn.
Do they have it now?
No.
Come on, Brooklyn.
So, I mean, my dad played, but, my dad used to go from work to league and then home. So I didn't really see him play. He didn't really play on the weekends because on the weekends he was playing cricket in the summer and hockey in the winter. And in those days, they didn't really have team practices. So he'd play his league match, and if he was playing any of his mates, he'd go straight from work. So I knew he played, but we never really played. And then when I was in standard 7, I used to ride my bike to school, and I drove past the courts for like the first time, and I heard the noise, and I was like, hey, I think I know that. I went inside, and they were like, I thought, geez, the Oaks are playing squash. This is, I'm sure this is what my dad plays. And then I watched for a bit, and then I rode home. And then when I got home, I told my dad they were playing squash, and I asked if I could borrow his racket to take to school the next day. And he said yes. And I went to school the next day. I went after school to the courts. I was like, hey, can I play? And they were like, well, we're busy with the school champs, so it's a bit late. But maybe after the school champs, if you want to start, you can play. So I was pissed off that they wouldn't let me play. Actually, that was standard 6. That was my first year of high school, and then I just left it. And then in the corridors in my second year at high school, my classroom was right where the squash notice board was.
The what?
So
The
notice board. Where they put all the school notices.
Okay.
So I saw notes on there for the school champs.
Is this before email?
This is way before email. So I went home again and I said, Dad, I put my name down. Can I borrow your racket? And just to show you how long ago this was, it was still wooden rackets.
Do you remember what racket it was?
It was a Dunlop Max Light.
Max Light.
And the grip was so big, I couldn't even get my fingers to touch on the other side. It was huge. So I put my name down, and I went to play, and I was one of those kids that I played everything. I played hockey, I played tennis, I played cricket. If anything was there, I played, and anything I didn't play was rugby. But so I knew I could play just by stepping on court to play, and then I ended up losing in the final.
Of the club champs?
Of the school champs.
The
grade 7, the second year champs, not the open category.
So you only played against people in grade 7 or standard 7?
Yes, grade 9, yes.
Standard
7. So that kind of put me into the grade 7 team, and then it kind of just awesome, that was it. I loved the game. I think the big thing for me was the fact that one of my best mates at the time had a tennis court at his house, and we used to go and play on Saturdays. I'd go and play there, and we'd play for like 5 hours. And we'd never get tired. And then the guy I played in the final, we had a decent game. He beat me 3-1 in about 45 minutes, and I was done. This guy made me run so much. And I realized afterwards he played all through primary school, so he knew what he was doing, and I was just fetching.
What was the guy's name? Do you remember?
Mark Roberts. And it was like, I love it. I'm absolutely so tired, and I was like, I like this. So then I just picked it up, and once you were in the school team, you got invited to the Northern Transvaal in the old days. You entered that tournament, and then I think it was within about 2 months I played for Northerns. I went to my first IPT.
Talk to me about your first IPT. Do you remember, how you did, who you played? Was there anyone interesting that you played? What else? Like, did you play A section first up, or did you make the A team first up?
Yeah, I made the A side. I played.
Yes.
I played number 2. Look, Boys High was particularly strong in squash in those days. They still are, but in those days, all our A sides played in the Joburg leagues, and our B sides played in the Pretoria leagues. And our B sides used to win the Pretoria league, and the A sides we used to do very, very well in the Joburg leagues.
Who were the top guys in your year at school? Like when you were in standard 7, standard 8, who were the top guys?
Yeah.
Did any of them turn pro or become squash players, professional squash players?
No.
No?
No one really. There were a lot of guys that had a lot of potential. I mean, Plummy, he was there. I mean, who hasn't lost to Gary Plumstead,
Me,
Richard Driscoll.
Only because I didn't play him.
Richard Driscoll. I don't know if you know Richard.
Yeah, of course I know Richard, yeah.
Richard, he was number 1.
Are those guys younger than you?
No, they sort of 1 year older.
Plummy and Richard?
Yeah. Well, yeah. 1 year older than me, both of them. Well, we might be the same age, but they were just an age group ahead. And then I'd play with, and then, Yeah, and Richard was the only one that could beat Plummy. He was the only guy around that knew how to beat Plummy. And one of my first IPTs, I played Richard. Because in those days, we used to play the individual and the team event on the same time. And
it's so funny. Sorry, let me interrupt you there quickly. It's so funny. You've said it. Coppers has said it. The way they say it, like, in those days.
I'm sure Adrian said it.
I didn't actually ask him about IPT that much, but it's so funny because like that's all I've known. I didn't know that it has changed. I mean, obviously you now with having a son, Hector, playing. I suppose it's changed because the way everybody has said it is like, in those days I played the individual and then the team in the same tournament. Like, so I was like, well, that's all I know as well. I didn't know that it's changed.
Yeah, well, I managed the under-19 side last year. And for me, it was also, it's challenging, all these guys playing each other during the week, but, there's no added spice to it when you have that individual at the same time. And for us, and obviously for you too, that was the SA closed. That was the big one. Where now I think the SA closed, it's not even a compulsory tournament. It doesn't really count as much. You have to win Bloom. Bloom's the big one. Tournaments change, and that's changed. But for me, surely you win the SA closed, you're the SA champion. But apparently not so much anymore. I mean, I stand corrected because I haven't really dealt much with the under-19s apart from the IPTs, but that's kind of what I'm hearing, which is a shame. But so I played Richard in my first round of my first IPT, and he bageled me 27 love. It was like, what the hell?
I heard he was a savage. But that didn't deter you, clearly.
Well, listen, I think if I remember correctly, I'm sure I shed a few tears there. It was pretty brutal, but those days, you got zipped and you had to play in a couple of hours' time. You had to play again.
Yeah.
So you didn't have much time to think about it. But
Yeah.
that was my introduction to my first IPT. Was a 27-0 bagel. Not so good.
Jeez. I mean, I thought I started rough, but that's a very rough start, Rodders.
Got better.
You did. Tell me. So let's fast forward a couple of years. Obviously, a lot of things happened, and then you decided to talk to me about like moving to England. Had you decided already that you wanted to be a pro then, or were you just still kind of like figuring out, let me just see what the squash thing is about, that's why I'll go to England?
Yeah, I think, I left school, and then, as you heard with Adrian, we went on that Knights tour. And we had a fantastic time there. And
so let me just stop quickly. So the Knights tour was after you matriculated?
I actually left the day after I wrote my last exam. So literally write the exam. Tour. Yeah, we left the next day. And that Knights tour was an eye opener, I think, for all of us. I think, except maybe for Wappo, because I think Wappo, he was number one. I think he was already almost on tour. He was doing it. But it was my first exposure to that kind of squash, and it was fantastic. You had that one tour where you were playing crap, and then you find your form, and then you're playing the best squash of your life, and a week later you crap again. So you go through all those emotions in one tour, and it kind of, you grow up. And I think the nice thing with us is that we had guys like Wappo and Toots, Dave Malella, Grant Isaacs, and Adrian and I were the two youngsters at sort of 5 and 6. So for us, I certainly was learning every time one of them stepped on court. I was like, oh, is that how you do it? Oh, is that how you do it? Watching Wappo was something else. He was just crazy. He was just an inspiration to watch. The effort, the level of intensity that he played with. I was like, this guy's really, really good. And then sort of came back to tour, and then from the Nice tour, went to the army. I did my national service. And
is
then
that 1 year or 2 years?
At that stage, it was only 1 year. So I did my national service. Luckily, I went in with another squash player, Stephen Darch, who plays for Midlands now. He's a minister. And we went to the army together. So, I had somebody there who was also quite keen on squash. We played squash for the army. They allowed us to travel quite a bit to play our squash, which was great. That was my first year that I kind of played on the South African tour, so to speak. And it was fantastic. I mean, I think I played 12 or 13 tournaments. I won 12 or 13 plate events. I lost first round every tournament. I lost like 5 times to Stuart. I lost to Gunnar. I lost to Trevor. I lost to Johnny Lieb about 5 times. I'm not even sure you know who Johnny Lieb is.
Geez, I know the name. I think, I don't even know why, but like there's one, I think I came across him once. Everyone had spoken to me about Johnny Lieb or something like that. I know the name. I really know the name.
He was a big shot player.
Was he a heavy set guy? Like, was he left-handed, if I'm not mistaken?
No.
Or was he right-handed? But he looked like he was if I remember correctly, he was like a rugby player looking type guy. Some like biggish, but that's about all I remember. I think
he's one of those guys that when you watched him play from the outside, he was really slow. Like he just walked around the court. That was just because he could just anticipate like nobody else. And he had every shot in the book, and he was annoying to play because he beat me every single time. But the thing I remember, which will come back into the conversation later on, is that from those tournaments, the prize money I got from those tournaments paid for my whole trip around South Africa. To play the next tournament, to play the next tournament, to play the next tournament.
So each tournament, the prize money helped you get to the next one.
Yeah. And when I came back after winning all the plate events, I had a bit of cash in my pocket. So it was great. It was like, I can do this. I can actually afford to do this. But then, army finishes and things happen, and I started working.
What did you do?
I was a bed salesman at the Hyperama.
Jeepers.
I know. And it was in Menlyn.
Yeah.
It was in Menlyn. So I used to get up. I used to walk to work. I used to walk down the hill to work, and then come sort of 5 o'clock, walk home again, and then grab my squash stuff and run down to the squash courts at high school All Boys and play for as long as I could. And then it must have been 2 years later, I was playing nationals, and I played Wapo in the semis, and I beat him. And it was like amazing. And then Craig, I lost to Craig in the final. I think it was like love and 2 or something.
Killed you with that boast of his.
I was like a deer in the headlights. I just didn't know where to go, what to do. It was just such a big occasion. If I remember, I was like 21 or 22 at the time. And then kind of just played the local. I didn't travel much the following year. And then I played nationals again the next year. And I played Wapo again in the semis, and I beat him again.
Score, do you remember?
I can't. It was. I remember it was reasonably comfortable. It wasn't brutal. But Wapo was one of those guys where if he was on, you had no chance. But if he was off, it was a little bit hit and miss for him at the time. And then I was having a shower afterwards, and he came into the showers, and he said, "Listen, when you finish, come upstairs." Now, Wapo back then, he was a very, he's intense now, but back then he was very intense. So I was a bit nervous. I was like, "Holy, this guy's gonna like beat me up. I don't know what he's gonna do." And I went upstairs. This was at the Wanderers, and he's like, What are you doing for food? Because I was going to drive home to Pretoria. So I said, nothing. So I said, come, let's go and eat. So we went out for food, and it was him and a couple of his mates, guys from southern suburbs. Can't remember who all was there, but we got to them. We sat down and ordered some drinks and stuff like that. I had Coke because I was playing in the final the next day.
Right.
And I'll never forget. He looked at me and he says, "What the fuck are you doing with your squash?" And I was just like, "Whoa!" So, and then the conversation went round, and he was like, "You need to go overseas. You need to go and play on the tour." And I was just like, "What tour?" I had no idea. Back then, a 21, 22-year-old South African was not. We were very insulated in what we knew about the outside world and life in general. So he gave me the name of his coach where he was training, and he said, this is when he's going back. I should give him a call.
Who was his coach at the time?
John Milton. And it was like, dude, you need to go. You need to phone him, and you need to go. And I was like, yes. So got home that night, and it's like, Dad, this is what Wapo said to me. He gave me this guy's number. I don't know who he is, but he said I must give him a call. Do you think I should? And my dad was like, phone him. What's he going to do? Yeah. So I said, okay, well, I'm not going to phone him now because I had the tournament.
Finals, yeah.
So, I lost in the final again.
Craig.
It's 0 for 2. No, I don't think it was Craig. Might have been Glenn. So sort of waited a few days, and then I phoned John. And I said, "Hi, John, my name is Rodney. Craig gave me your number. He says I should come out." And just gave him the whole spiel. And he was like, "All right, well, come out. Let's see if we like each other first before we start working together. So I was like, okay, seemed like a nice guy. So then kind of things got put into motion for me to get that kind of stuff. And I had an old Foxy Beetle. That was my car, which was a family car, and it was like very old. And so I remember selling it in the newspaper to this guy who, I mean, I felt bad about the time, but this guy didn't know how to drive. So I gave him the keys to the car and I went back inside, and then after about 20 minutes, he was still sitting there. So I went back out and he's like, how do you start this thing? So I was like, oh. So I showed him how to start it. I showed him first gear and second gear, and then off he went. I think he stayed in second gear. I mean, I felt bad at the time, but I was like, geez. And I got 4,500 rand for it.
Yes.
So that was huge, man. It was
like money. 1 million rand back then.
So my dad bought me a ticket on Air Zimbabwe. 6 months open return for 2.5 grand.
Cheap.
So yeah. So it means I'd cash in my pocket.
Yeah.
So
and at that stage, like the rand to the pound was probably almost like 1-to-1 or 1.2 or something.
Wasn't that good? I think it was about 5 or 6.
Oh, 5 or 6.
Yeah. And I remember I stayed with the family when I was there, and I used to have to walk, catch a bus, catch a train, catch a bus, and then walk to the courts.
Jeez.
So it took over an hour to get there, but the accommodation was
free.
Cheap.
Oh
yeah. So, and I stayed there for a little while before I realized, hold on, this isn't.
Where was that in?
Bible.
What's a Chinkford? Is that where you were?
No. I was staying in a place called Mill Hill. But we were training in. It was a club called. Oh, what was it called? It was called the Hertfordshire. No, that was the golf course. It was called Hearts Country Club. Had squash courts, massive bar, tennis courts, billiard room. It's like a country club, really. It was really nice. But the first day I got there, John was away with the girls in the group, Linda Charman, Jane Martin, and they were I think they were in Guernsey playing the Women's World Open. So when I got there, he wasn't there. It was just Mark Challoner, Julian Wellings. They were the guys that were there. So obviously introduced myself, and we started training together for a couple of days. And then John's dad came down with a big ass video recorder, and he said, no, you need to play Mark in a match. So I was like, okay, we hadn't played yet. We hadn't played much. It was like day 2 or 3. So I was like, okay. And Mark at that stage, I mean, we're the same age, but Mark at that stage, I think it was about 24 in England. And I was sort of, when I left South Africa, I was number 8 in South Africa. And I thought, okay, well, we've been training together, so it should be fine. And we played, and I lost 9-love, 9-love, 9-2. And it was probably in the region of about 15 minutes.
Whoa.
Yeah, and I came off, and I was done. I'd never run so fast and so hard in my whole life. I was like, what the hell? So I went to go and sulk in the change room, had a shower, had some lunch, came back, and John's dad, Mab, said, okay, you got to play Julian this afternoon. So I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. And I probably maybe got to about 20 minutes and maybe got about 4 or 5 points. And I was just like, this is impossible. These guys literally I was like a beginner to them, it was crazy. So tried a few more times and got nowhere. And John hadn't arrived back yet. He was gone for like a week. So literally, like before he got back, I remember phoning home and saying, listen, I think I should come home because this isn't
Yeah.
It's not working. Wapo wasn't there. I didn't know Mark or Julian that well. So, they had their cars and homes to go to, and I had my hour and a bit journey back home. So, I was kind of gonna throw in the towel. And then it didn't help when John arrived back, and he ignored me. He didn't talk to me. So I'd go to the courts and I'd see him talking to Mark or Julian, and there'd been like a bit of a meeting. So I wouldn't go and butt in, and he wouldn't talk to me. And after like 2 days or something, I went to Mark and I'm like, "What's wrong with John? Why won't he talk to me?" I hadn't even introduced myself to him yet. I hadn't met him face to face yet. So he's like, "I don't know. Maybe he's waiting for you." So I'm like, "Geez, all right." So like, wait, see my opportunity. "Hi, John, I'm Rodney." He says, "Well, it's about fucking time, isn't it?" So he was basically just testing me to see how long it was going to take before I actually got up and said, "Hey, this is who I am." And then, then we hit it off straight away. And, my dad basically said, "Look, you've got a 6 month ticket. You might as well stay there for 6 months. There's no point coming home. What are you going to do at home?" So, which I was very grateful for, because, my dad was always been go, very supportive once I decided what to do. And then sort of by the end of the 6 months, when I came back to South Africa, I won nationals. So, the level of squash, the level of training that got me so high in 6 months, the improvement was just incredible in everything: squash, training, physicality, mental, everything was just huge, because it was a sink or swim kind of scenario. You first try and, my goal was to keep Mark on court for half an hour, not worry about the points. And then it was, all right, let me try and get a game. And, after 6, I played my first PSA tournament. I think it was in Bern in Switzerland. And, I ended up beating Mark in the quarterfinals. From 2-love down. I came back and beat him. So then was like, okay, this isn't so bad. So the learning curve was just... And
Mark was, what did you say, top 20 at the time, or top 50?
No. He was number 27 in England.
Okay.
He was nowhere in the world, maybe top 100.
Okay.
But he was 27 in England. So, and we all know where he went. He ended up going sort of number 7 in the world. So it was, just training with those guys on a daily basis, where you're always coming last. But you striving, you're working, you're watching, you're learning. You just take it all in until eventually it starts making sense,
Yeah.
And obviously having John there as well, guiding you, you can't help but get better.
Yeah. Let's fast forward. There's so many things I could ask you on that, and I'd really like to take a deep dive into that. But for the sake of time, let's not go into it today. We're gonna have to. I told Zooks, obviously, my relationship with Zooks. I said to him, we'll have to have a part 2. And I think definitely with you, Rodders, we're going to have a part 2, season 2 with Rodders.
Season 2.
But let's fast forward a little bit. Let's talk about your first Jarvis win.
First Jarvis win?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Do you remember that? Who did you play for? Who did you guys play against? Talk me through that.
Well, that first Jarvis win is actually a very special win. It was in 97. It was I'd been playing for Northern Transvaal since I left school, and part of me, I'd been to quite a few Jarvises already, and I hadn't won one. I hadn't come close. I mean, one year Northerns had Chris Walker and Del Harris in our Jarvis side, and we still lost. So I realized that at the time that if I wanted to win Jarvis, I would have to move provinces. because at that stage I couldn't see Northerns. We just didn't have the depth to contest. And Gauteng, Transvaal were winning all the Jarvises. So I thought, well, let me go across to Gauteng. I'll play one for them, win Jarvis, and then go back to Northerns. Yeah. So it's kind of what I did. I wanted that feeling of winning a Jarvis. So I went over. I was playing number 3. How many
Jarvis did you play before you moved to Gauteng to go get your first W?
Probably, what was it? I mean, I played my first Jarvis in 88 or 89.
Yes, that's right.
So it was a good 7 or 8. It's a good 7 or 8 Jarvis before I decided to move over, and it was great. I mean, I played number 3. I'd be playing 1 at Northerns for a while, so I went over. I played number 3 behind Glenn and Toots, which was
who was
fantastic.
The team? So Glenn, Toots, you,
myself. It loses me a little bit there. I think it might have been like Trevor. Might have been there.
Paul Atkinson?
No, I don't remember Paul. Yeah. No, I can't remember who was sort of bottom. This was before we didn't have pros, international players at that stage. I can't remember who was at the bottom. Might have been like a Derek Nitch.
Yeah.
I'm struggling. Below there.
So talk to me about that. Like, so that win. What was it like? Who did you guys play in the final?
I actually cannot remember.
Right. You just remember the W.
Well, it was one of those Jarvises where I was already sort of top 3 in the country. So I knew that playing at number 3 was going to be really easy. So I was kind of like, you know what? Very unprofessional, but I don't have to take this that seriously. And it was one of the few Jarvises, and there are not many, that I was kind of doing a lot of the socializing in the evenings rather than to bed early. And 97 was actually the year I pursued a blonde lady.
Alas. I can hear the chuckles in the background there.
and that was the year that I met my future wife.
Was that in Cape Town? No,
it was in
97.
It was 97. I mean, I don't know where it was. I think it might have been Joburg.
I think it was Joburg, maybe.
She's telling me Durban.
Okay. Because I think the year after that is when I first kind of hung out, met you guys. Because, like, I remember at Finds, like, people were finding you for, like, hanging out with Zoe the whole time or something like that. Was that the Cape Town Jarvis, I think?
That was a Cape Town. But remember, at that, in 97, we both played for Gauteng.
Okay.
Zoe and I, we both played for Gauteng. We both won Jarvis because she won with the ladies A and I won with the Gauteng A. And then kind of what followed from that Jarvis is that we started seeing each other after Jarvis. And then she wanted to move down to Cape Town. So I said, okay, I'll move with you. And that's kind of when I made my first move to Province.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I spent the years training with you, Zooks, and Rowan.
Yeah. Let's talk about your move to Cape Town. You played. My very first Jarvis win was in 06, and you were in the team.
In 06?
I think it was 06. You, Gary, me, Zooks, and Bruce in Pietermaritzburg. Is that 06?
No. That was our first Jarvis win of that group.
Of Western Province in a while.
That was the year of the worst team to win Jarvis, wasn't it?
Yes. I had that conversation with Zooks and we spoke about that. Talk to me.
That was a great week, man.
That was a great week. So talk to me about, first of all, let's compare how many Java had you won since your first one, then
No,
moving to, I know that
that was
wasn't
my
your
second.
first one. So the 06 one was your second one with Western Province.
Yes.
Okay, so you won with Gauteng, then
Yeah.
you decided to move to Northerns. If correct me if I'm wrong.
No, I was at Northerns, then I went to Gauteng.
Mm-hmm.
Then I went back to Northerns and then Cape Town.
Okay. Talk to me about that 06 Jarvis. What were your thoughts on it? I think that was the first time. Yeah, your first time you played for Province, right?
Yeah. Look, it wasn't. It's not the first time I played for Province.
Okay.
Yeah, but I played for Province for a couple of years, and then I went back to Northerns, and then I came back down with Zoe.
Bloody hell!
That 06 was an interesting one because that was the first one where they had pools.
Yeah.
And it was like they wanted to do it for TV to have a semi-final and a final, and it was a weird one because, you know, it had its pros and cons. But as player, I didn't enjoy it because we didn't get to play all the provinces.
Mm-hmm.
You know, which at that stage was the fun bit. You play every province.
Everyone, yeah.
But yeah, it had some interesting connotations. I mean, we snuck through to the semis by the skin of our teeth, having actually lost 2 out of 3 pool games.
Yeah.
So that was an interesting one for us, I think. I think KZN helped us a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Unexpectedly, Adrian couldn't finish the one game, which gave us enough points
I think
to
it's
get
a
through.
little different. I think Easterns helped us because we played Easterns. I think we lost to them 3-2.
Yes, we did.
Then we played Northerns, lost to them 3-2. Then we played somebody else, beat them maybe 5-love. And then Easterns and Northerns played, and Easterns beat them 5-love. And that's what gave us the second spot.
The points.
Yeah.
Listen, your memory is obviously a lot better at it.
It's only because I chatted to Zooks about it before, you know. But yeah, you know.
Look, I think it was just, for me, it was a great one because of the team that we had really sort of, we kind of gelled a lot. We had bad losses and other guys came through, and, you know, we won where we thought we wouldn't win. Mm-hmm. And I think the team showed a lot of character. I think we learned a lot from Bruce. Mm-hmm. You know, Bruce, you know, showed a hell of a lot of character, playing Plummy on the one day and then playing him again. Mm-hmm. I think he showed a lot of leadership there by calling us into that meeting and actually offering to step down. Mm-hmm. You know, and I think that was huge. I mean, I know as players, we were thinking of asking him to step down because we couldn't see a way for him to beat Plummy at all. And he just, you know, he said, right, fine, I'm happy to step down if you want. And then I think we actually ended up having to convince him to give it a go. And then there was that also thing where he had to leave. He was managing a junior side. Yeah. So he had to play Plummy on a cold court about 8 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
You know, I wouldn't back myself in that situation. But you know, the fact that we went down as a team at like 7 o'clock to warm him up in the indoor arena there. We made him do court sprints and burpees and push-ups and stuff. And he got so close. You know, I think he got so close, and that was it was an inspiration, you know, to see him really pull it out of nowhere. And then, you know, whether he won or lost, I think it kind of set the tone, you know. And then I lost to Liam in the first time we played them, and then I managed to turn in the pool games. Then I managed to turn that around. You know, and those are the things that, you know, you lean on. You know, if Bruce had played Plummy and lost as badly as he did in the pool game, you know that fight may not have been in you.
Yeah. I'll never forget. This is why I wanted to bring this up with you, Rod. You know the story I'm going to bring.
Exactly what you mean.
I was this was the first tour that I had. I think, I don't know if you were number one in South Africa at the time or whatever, but like, to me, you were a legend. I've been following your career for the longest time. And I remember, so Bruce was gone. So like, Bruce played it at like 7 a.m. So he had to leave at like 9 to catch his flight to New Zealand for the world teams. So now it's me, you, Gary, and Zooks left. So what happened is, I think maybe I go on first, and then I beat Wapo or something like that. I don't know. Let me finish. Let me finish.
Yes.
So I go on first. I beat Wapo 3-1 or 3-2 or something like that. Zooks goes on, and then he wins against.
He played John Argyle, didn't he?
John Argyle.
Yeah.
And then so I think Zooks is reffing at so then Gary goes on, and I think Gary was injured at the time, right? Because there was that whole debacle. They wanted me to play at 2 or something.
Didn't Gary play last though? Didn't Gary play last? It was like a dead rubber.
Yeah, maybe.
I think it was a dead rubber.
Yes, he was a dead rubber. So you went on. So we were 2-1 up, I think. So I won. Zooks won. Bruce had lost earlier in the morning, right?
Yeah.
You had initially lost to Liam, and then you were winning. I think you were still down, No,
it's down. We're 2 love down.
Yeah, you were 2 love down. So this is my thing. Zooks is maybe warming up or reffing or something. Gary's warming up. Zooks is reffing, so he can't come down. So like now I'm this like 23-year-old. I've got to speak to my hero, and you 2 love down. So you pacing, you go off court and you pacing on this next court. And I'm like, Flip, what am I going to say to him? I don't even know how to beat, Liam Kenny. What am I going to say to him? I'm nervous. I'm sweating and I'm coming down. What am I going to say to Rodney? What am I going to say to Rodney? Oh, Flip. So I get on court. You walking on the side court, like just trying to gather yourself, drinking your Powerade or whatever it is, your own concoction there that you have. And you pacing. You're not looking at me. So I go in the door and I'm like, I don't know what to say. You pacing. You don't even acknowledge me. And then I was like, so I think I was calling you captain at the time because you were the team captain. I was like, Cap. And then you just looked at me. You paused like halfway on the tee. You looked at me and you're like, I got this. I was like, on the one hand, I was like, damn, that's confidence. But on the other hand, I was like, I'm psyching myself up to like say like, I'm trying to give you advice. I don't even know what to say. And you just held your hand up. I got this. I was like, okay. And then you did. You had it.
It was a good win.
That was I
was very psyched.
Spectacular. It was really, really spectacular. To give us our first W at
first W.
Well, for me, my first W.
Well, I think my Gauteng one was so long ago. It certainly, I remember feeling that this was. You kind of knew that there was something special happening, within the team. I always felt like there was. You knew there was something building within the province side. I think the core of yourself, Zooks, and me, and at that stage I assumed Gary as well. It's when you got back to Cape Town and all 4 of us were like pros. We were all training. We got on well together. We understood each other, and there was definitely a Jarvis bond there. Which maybe through the years wasn't always there away from Jarvis. But Jarvis was the thing that sort of just united us all together. And then we had a few changes with Sean and Gary the next year, and then Bruce fell away.
Rudy
came in, and Rudy was I mean, geez, he was fantastic. I mean, coming in at number 5, it was just like, he was so exciting to watch. You know, he used to set the tone at 5. You know, he used to go on and he was our banker when he was playing, and he was like chief cheerleader when he was watching. He was so loud, and you know, he could gather that energy from everybody and just send you on court with a, you know, like you know, you feel like Hulk when you're going on. And I think that kind of flowed with everybody, you know. And then it just stuck, and then we just rolled it from there. Played I think we played the next sort of 7-8 finals.
Yeah, talk to me about that. I actually want to just touch on that quickly. So that was the start of a maybe like a 12-year run for us, right? Like I think 2006 we were the worst team to win Jarvis. And then I think we went through like this little mini rebuilding or consolidating phase where 08, 09, we were kind of getting there. We stayed in the A section. And then 2010, we won again. And then for the next maybe 8 years after that, we were almost always the favorites. Talk to me about your experience in that time, like when we were having our run. You know, we had Pretoria, Pretoria, Cape Town. Cape Town was our last one, I think. What are the other ones that we won? PE. I can't remember the last one that we won. Well, Cape Town was the last one, but there's one more that we were missing because we obviously got the 5 stars.
We lost in Poch. What about East London, maybe?
I wasn't there in East London that 1 year. You remember? I think I played for Border that 1 year. So we did Pietermaritzburg. I know we did Port Elizabeth. What else did we do?
Pretoria?
We did Pretoria, yes.
Yeah.
There's 2 more. Okay, Cape Town, and then there's 1 more. Okay.
They all blend, man.
But anyway,
so many, they just blend.
Yeah. Talk to me about your experience with that, you know, because we were kind of like a little dynasty, you know. There's not many teams that get in that short space of time, like that get so many W's.
Yeah.
And it was always between us and Natal, you know.
Yeah, I think for me the strange thing for me was that, you know, I think I'd probably almost retired by then already. I don't think I was on much on tour anymore.
Yeah.
So for me, it was strange because I didn't hang out with you guys. You know, I know you and Zooks and Sean. Yeah, well, no, just socially. You know, during the year, we saw each other at tournaments, and it was always like great mates at tournaments, going on tours together, worlds together. You know, we had that. You know, myself, you, Sean, we toured. We toured together. So, you know, I saw you guys a lot, but it was always a squash thing, and it was always like a tournament and then disappear. But Jarvis was different. It sort of brought us together in a different way, and it was always strange because you know, for a lot of those times, you know, when Rudy was around, it was novel for me because I was the only white guy on the side, and it was like, you know, I never felt like an outsider, but I always felt that Jarvis I was welcomed in. I was, you know, I know for a lot of them, I wasn't not always number 1, but I think for the majority, I was playing number 1 and I was captain of the side. And I think I never felt like there was anything wrong. You know, we felt like a family. We used to travel in one car, and it was always like, I knew you guys had my back, and, you know, for that week, it was family. You know, we weren't individuals at all. You know, you played for your teammates, you played for your province. And I think that's, apart from the province thing, I think within that A side, there was a lot of respect for each individual as being part of that team. And it was great. You know, I felt I could actually relax and not worry. You know, I could be myself. I could just chill. You know, the music that was played in the car was not always the music that I would listen to.
It's not
but
your
for
genre.
That week, it's not my genre. But for that week, it was like, this is the music that gets played. And this is the music that puts us in the mood when we get to the courts. This is the music we listen to when we go to the functions. And it was like awesome. You know, it was like a whole different side, which was amazing for me. And also for a lot of that time, you know, Hector was with us as well. And the way the whole team behaved when he was around, the way they behaved to him and listened to him, you know, made him feel part of the team. You know, that made it even more special. You know, if you go out, he wants to go with the boys. He doesn't want to go with the girls. He still listens to that kind of music now. It drives me nuts. But this is the music, and that's the kind of the way he's grown up in team sports. Where he had us as an example. You know, the way we were as a team is the way he thinks that team sports should be like. So it was awesome. For me, it was just fantastic.
Yeah. I think just to kind of semi-counter what you were saying, you know, like I'll speak for myself, and I think in a way I would echo Zooks and Roa and Sean and Rudy. It was, you know, for us it was difficult, right? Like we were always aspiring to do the things that you did, right? So it was hard for us to kind of like at first include you in everything, because we always saw you as up there, right? And we were here. You were the one real squash pro. Sean, myself, Rudy, we tried on the tour and we did okay, but we never did what you did, right? So for us initially, it was also like a maturing phase. Like you have 10 years on me. I've got 5 years on Sean, and Sean's got like 3 years on Rudy, right? So it was always like a little difficult at first. And Zooks, being Zooks, he was like our big brother, you know. But like I'll speak for myself. Like for me, there was always that reverence that we had towards you. And I think initially, maybe in the first 2, maybe even 3, we were like a little still trying to figure it out, you know. But when it came to 4 and 5, our wins, I felt like that's where it shifted. It was like, you know what? It's rudders, you know? Like there was a different kind of thing. Like we knew now, like you were rudders, Zooks was Zooks, Clint was Clint, Sean, Rudy, we all had our role, you know, whereas I think initially we were still trying to like figure out where we fit in, and like, can we give you advice? Can we speak? Do you respect us? Obviously we knew, I don't know if you knew, but like we knew we respected you, you know. So it was, you know, I think that dynamic was like so outside of squash. It was just like a relationship dynamic. We just needed to figure things out, you know, for ourselves. And I think that's really the thing, is like your willingness to accept us. I mean, I think we always wanted to be cool with you, right? But it's always hard, right? Like you don't really know how to act, how to say, what to say, and how to say whatever you want to say, you know. So I think initially that was the dynamic, but I definitely feel towards the end it was like, you know, we really felt like you mentioned it. It was like a family thing, you know. Like we were able to, like, if there was something that you did wrong, we felt comfortable enough to be able to call you out, and vice versa. You know, if there was any, like, I think there was a time like you challenged each of us at different times. You were like, listen, this is what we, you know, and even at fines, like you always had the last word. You know, we were like, okay, this is the A team, and like, okay, Clinton, tell what you did, blah, 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 whatever. Zooks, you say, Sean. And then it came to like Rodders, like, boom. Like once Rodders said what he needed to say, fines was over. You know what I mean? Like that was really our take on it, you know? And we were so happy to have a leader like yourself that kind of like included guys and girls. I think that was really so special about Western Province during our run, is that there wasn't, you know, you look at the different provinces, and I'm not going to mention any names, but there's always like the one person that stands out, you know? Oh no, these guys aren't going to go watch the girls, or they aren't going to watch the B team, you know? And you kind of instilled or enforced that spirit in us, in that Jarvis team, to say like, listen, dude, you want them to come support us? We've got to support them. You know, that you want the A team to come support the B, or the B team to come support us? We've got to support the B team. We've got to support the ladies. We've got to, you know, so those were the things that you kind of instilled, and you led the way, you know. And I think that was really, you know, people always ask about like, oh no, what's, you know, you win Jarvis and how do you do it? And it's those things. It's the things that is not on paper. It's not the results necessarily. Well, the results determine the winner, but what gets you to those results? And I think that's the thing that we really benefited, was from your leadership, right? Like you showed us like, this is what it means. Take it seriously, focus, stretch, do this, talk to us in a calm way in between points and blah blah, in between games. And you know, so that's the thing, like my takeaway from that. And it was really such a, you know, I always say that like for me, the biggest respect that I can get, or the thing that I feel comfortable with, okay, I've never won nationals, but the thing that kind of solidifies my squash career is the fact that the people that I respect, I've gone to war with them, and I've fought with them, and they've seen that like, this is what I can do, and this is what they mean to me, and this is what I mean to them, you know. So that was one of the big things. And you know, I definitely want to applaud you for your leadership in that. And it never really gets said, you know. So okay, Rodders, talk to me about your experiences being having played for South Africa. How many times have you captained South Africa? Do you know how many caps you've had? And talk to me about your best and worst experiences, if you've had, at representing South Africa.
Clint, I'm not sure how many caps I've got, because I think you get a cap, you know, only when you step on court. You don't just get a cap for going. You got to play to get a cap. So I'm not sure exactly how many caps I've got. Mm-hmm. But I played my first one in '95. Mm-hmm.
Where
we went
was
to
that?
Egypt.
Okay.
Egypt, and that was fantastic. We came fifth. We had Wappo as our captain. We had I think it was Wappo, Craig, Toots, and myself. I think no, it could have been Glenn. Yeah, like a long time ago. But we had Uli Schmidt as our team doctor, the rugby player. Yeah. He came along as our team doctor, yeah. And, I mean, it was an amazing experience. I'd only recently sort of joined the tour and was sort of playing out of England. And I remember I played a tournament just before called Alaram. And I played a Welsh guy, Gareth Davies, I think his name was. And I played him in the tournament, and I beat him 3-1. And it was a great win for me. And I remember being at the tournament, and I was number 4 in the side, and Steve was our manager. And we were talking about who was going to play, team selection. And I knew that he was playing number 3 for them.
For Wales.
For Wales, yeah.
Is that behind Goffey and Dave Evans, or Dave Evans and Goffey?
No, it was other guys from Wales. I think they were there. I don't know if they were 1 and 2 though, but they were there. And I remember before or during the meeting, I think I kind of put my hand up and I said, I want to play number 3 tomorrow. And it was like, well, I said, because I played this guy last week and I beat him, and I'll beat him again.
And it was in Egypt.
And it was in Egypt, yeah. I just stayed on an extra day and then joined the team.
Mm-hmm.
And luckily, Steve was like, and Wapo, they were both like, okay. And I thought, geez, that was easy. I thought I was really going to have to fight my case, which I was prepared to do because I really knew that I could beat this guy.
Mm-hmm.
And then we played them and we won. And it was like.
So who had to win? So you won, obviously.
Yeah. Clint, I really can't remember.
What is?
It was, all I remember is that we came 5th. We played amazing. We just, it was just an amazing experience. I remember playing a French guy. I think his name was Akuchi, Jean-Michel. I think it was him.
Yeah.
I think it was him. I may be mistaken, but I think it was him.
Come on, Rodney.
And he got me in my calf muscle, and my whole leg went numb. Couldn't feel my toes. It was like, yo. So I came off court and Uli was rubbing it, and then he said, okay, I've got to strap it. So I said, okay. So he strapped it and went back on court, and it must have been not even a minute later, like after the first point, my whole foot went pins and needles, and my leg was just flopping. I had no control. And I said, sorry, I need to go off. I can't feel my foot. Something's wrong. So I went off, and then Uli was taking the strapping off to see what was going on because he was our doctor. And old Wapo comes and he taps him on the shoulder and he says, Uli, we're not rugby players, eh? You can't strap us that tight. Just take it easy. And he's like, oh, okay, sorry. And then it was fine after that.
So you retaped it after that.
You retaped it, just not as tight. So there was a bit of blood flow there. So I've actually got another story with Uli. Mm-hmm. On one of the first days we got there, I don't know if you know, but Uli plays squash.
I heard. There was Uli Schmidt. There was a Natal prop as well. What is his name? And Mark Andrews was also.
That was Ollie Leroux.
Ollie Leroux was also a squash player. And then there was, I think, Mark Andrews also played squash. Okay.
I didn't know Mark Andrews played, but I knew about Ollie. But Uli, he was like a second league player in Pretoria.
Uh-huh.
And very, very, he was very involved in the Masters squash. He loved the vets squash. But we were having a hit in one of the courts in Cairo. And Uli obviously had his stuff there, and he was hitting. We were playing 3/4 or something. And he played a boast, and he was playing Wapo, and Wapo went in, did a little hold and flick on the backhand.
As Wapo does.
Uli being who he is, he just went straight through. He didn't see the flick coming. And he tackled
Wapo.
He tackled Wapo and just put Wapo up against the front wall. And we were all just like, no more flicks to Uli.
Yeah.
You let him know exactly where the ball's going so he can go and hit it.
Yeah.
So, but it was great. It was a great tournament. It was my first Worlds.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like trying to impress everybody. I played my heart out, and it was just fantastic.
Mm-hmm. Let's fast forward. So you played a couple of Worlds since. Let's talk about the Worlds we played. Myself, yourself, I think Jesse and Cops in Denmark.
Yeah.
And I think, what did we finish there? 6th? I think we finished 6th or
6th or 7th.
6th or 7th then, you're right. But it was the first time since you guys had done so well that a squash team had done that. Like, what was your experience there, and what were your thoughts on that?
Denmark was good, and I think the nice thing about that team was I think all of us were almost in the top 100. I think we were close.
We were all in the top 100, yeah.
Yeah, so that it gives you a sense of everybody knows what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
There was that confidence. You knew where the guys were. We all knew who we were playing against. You weren't bringing somebody from South Africa who hadn't seen any international squash, kind of thing. So I think it was relaxing. It was tense, but it was relaxing. In a different way. Obviously I'd played a few since then, so it was good.
Mm-hmm.
It was fun. It was.
I want to comment on that, like, just because it's like, again, under your leadership, it was really such a special thing. Like, it was so comforting. So I think I was 4 at the time. So I think it was.
Was Steve 1? Or was I still 1 then?
I think Steve was 1, you were 2. Jesse was 3, me 4, or something along those lines, right? And it was just kind of comforting to know that, especially with like you being the captain, we had somebody that had been there, and you knew how to beat a lot of the players, right? And it kind of was a comforting thing, and it kind of just set the tone. We had our hits in the morning. We kind of stuck together. I think
we had Woody with us as a youngster?
No. Woody was France. I don't think we had a youngster with us.
Okay.
Yeah, it was me, you, Jesse, Cops in that tournament. I think after that they started introducing a youngster.
Okay, all right.
You know,
just trying to get zone in on which one.
It all blurs. So that was really such a good thing, and I think it really set the tone for the next couple of years for us, right? Like, we had a successful. All of us actually had a successful South African tour the next couple of years. We went from Denmark, and I think then we went to Germany. Or no, we went to Germany. Then
did we go to Odense?
Odense so that was 2010.
Okay.
Odense in Denmark, yeah. I think the year before that was India.
Yeah, I didn't go to India.
You didn't go to India. There was me, Adrian, Coppers. I don't know who was the other guy that was in that team. But anyway.
Wasn't Jesse or Tertius maybe? Or
no, Tertius didn't go. It may have been Jesse. But I know Adrian was there definitely because I roomed with him. I know Cops was there because he was captain. We handed the captaincy over to him. Or maybe India was after that. I'm not sure. Anyway. But it was it was really, again, as I said, is the leadership that you'd shown. Like, I definitely have to say, like, my career, I think a lot of ours, like, Cops, myself, Sean, we took a lot of comfort, and we kind of followed the footsteps that you went. Cops and Sean went to, they lived in England, so they kind of followed a little bit your steps a little bit more than I did as somebody that was in Germany. But you know, just having you in the background, like it was really comforting, and it was nice to know that somebody else had done it, and you kind of on that route, you know, which is very important. Let's talk about your thoughts now on the current state of South African squash. What are your thoughts on where squash is now, why it is where it is? Just any feedback, any thoughts that you have?
Yeah, look, it's obviously going through a bit of a slump. I think squashers say are trying a lot of different things, which is great because it's always been the same. Too scared to try something new. So I think it's good that they're trying something new. Whether they're getting it right or not, I don't know. I think there's been a lot of, I don't know how to say it. It seems hard to see a way out of the slump that we're in at the moment. Mm-hmm. You know, we're trying to make it easier for the kids, well, for the players to get on tour by bringing all these PSA tournaments to South Africa. Unfortunately, I don't know if it's helping. Mm-hmm. You know, if it's helping or hindering, I don't know. I think the one thing that's seriously lacking in South Africa is a comprehensive circuit that allows a young player to earn a living in South Africa, to even consider taking up squash as a profession. You know, you have the top two players at the moment, arguably JP and Christou. And, you know, if those guys weren't coaching, if they were playing all the tournaments that they played last year, I mean, obviously this year is null and void, but last year, would that have been enough for them to make a living, to pay rent, to eat for the year? You know, and it's not. So to try and sort of, now you have these PSA tournaments for $1,000, and you know the guys win them, but is that also enough for them to make a living? Mm-hmm. So if you can't make a living in your own country, how are you supposed to not only make a living but save enough to go overseas? Mm-hmm. and play, and to decide if this is what you want to do? Where I think if the idea is to build these PSA tournaments so that they get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, so that eventually in 5 years' time they all $10,000 events, then that's fine. But they haven't really let anybody know. The tournaments mm-hmm. just appear, and you know, someone like myself, I mean, I'm not a PSA player anymore. So that's all. Once those tournaments become non-challenger, you know, the lowest form, I can't play them anymore. Mm-hmm. And if I can't play them, then guys from overseas are going to come in and they're going to take up all the spots. They're going to fill the draw. So how many South Africans are going to get past first, second round? There might be the odd few, but you're looking at the same guys are going to get through. No new ones are going to get through. So I would prefer to see a return of, you know, every province have 3 or 4 50,000 rand tournaments, where if you make quarterfinals, you're guaranteed 5,000 rand. So that if you want to, you know, if I'm coaching somebody, I'm like, listen, you got to go and play that tournament, you got to go and play those 5 tournaments in a row. And I know that if he gets quarterfinals of one of them, he's going to make enough money to get home. Mm-hmm. So that when he comes back after those 5 tournaments, if he's got quarterfinals of every tournament, that means he's top 8 in South Africa. Where now you have guys who are getting semifinals of tournaments, but you know, they're not even full-time players. Mm-hmm. You know, so it almost seems like our non-professional players outnumber and outgun our current crop of professional players.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no way past for these pros to go past the other players, or they're not good enough to get past the players who are working, who have jobs.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I know we spoke about this a couple of years ago, but we can't make it too easy. You know, if you make it too easy for somebody to stay here and play on the professional tour and make it his job playing $1,000 tournaments, he's not making it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you can't call yourself a professional player if you see yourself as, if you can get semi-finals of a $1,000 event. You know, that's not good.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think that there's a level of quality that I expect from a South African player. And I expect that if a South African player, if there's a $1,000 tournament in South Africa, if our best player can't win it when there's international players here, then you're not making it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's a reason that guys like Stuart, Gunnar, Trevor, Craig van der Walt, Wapo, myself, you know, Steve, there's a reason that we got the level of success that we did, is because we went out and we got it. South Africa is too far away from the rest of the world to consider being a pro based here. The Australians don't base themselves in Australia. The Kiwis don't base themselves in New Zealand because it's too far away. You know, there's not many good pros that base themselves in the States. You know, you've got to be based in Europe. It's the way it is. You know, look at our South African top cyclists. They don't base themselves here. They base themselves in Europe. It's just the way it is. It's not a good thing or bad thing. I think we're trying to chase away the dream of going to Europe to play squash by trying to sell it the fact that you can do it from here, and you can't. Mm-hmm. It's a reality. There's not enough money here to do it, and every time you want to play anything bigger than $1,000, or the SA Open was a $5,000, you want to play something bigger than that, you're going to have to spend $20,000 to get there, mm-hmm. and eat and what have you. And that's just if you can get into the first round. So for me, it's just it's a numbers game. You base yourself in Europe. You've got multiple leagues you can choose from every week. You've got training hubs with guys are top 20, top 50 in the world to go anywhere and train. And, you know, you got access to the States. You know, flying London, New York, it's like 5 hours. You know, you can go, you can play. And also it's, for me, it can't be easy. You know, you got to go out there and do it. I personally don't think we have the coaches that are able to take a player from good to world standard. And I include myself in that as well. You know, I helped Steve up to a point because I helped him as much as I know I could give him. But I needed players around him to make him better. I needed better players around him to make him play, and we don't have that yet. I'm working with Ruan Ulifi now, and we're getting to the point now where he's getting so good that for him to get better, I can teach him more, but I can't teach him more without other players around to show him what he has to do better. Because if he does everything he can here, he's going to win. Except JP, Christo, those guys, but they're in Joburg, and that's a 2-hour flight. You know, South Africa's too big, and we're too far away from the world. So the guys must go. That's the way I feel about it.
Let me ask you this. So maybe you've touched on it already, you know. Let's talk about this. Is like, if you were the commissioner of squash in South Africa like, what would you do currently to change the things that you think that would help, especially our high performance initially? You know, like it's a hypothetical, but like what would you do if you had the reins for 1 year? And I don't want to say, yeah, I mean, I suppose I can say an unlimited budget. Like, what do you think is the way forward for South Africa?
Well, I think we need to. Okay, so the first thing I would do is I would invest heavily in coach education. We need to educate our coaches how to coach better, and not just coach better. We need to educate our best coaches to coach better. Not our high school coaches. We're talking about the best coaches that we've got. We've got to educate them better. We have to get over, even if we get overseas coaches to come here and coach the coaches, not coach players, to coach the coaches. I mean, I would love to go to England and do a level 3, do a level 4, learn how to coach from the guys who've done it.
Even yourself.
Even myself. I
Have
know
you
what
reached
John
the
taught.
levels that you've reached? Knowing what you know.
I don't know nearly enough. You know, I think I know quite a lot, but I also know that there's a hell of a lot I don't know. So I would love for Squash SA to say, listen, Rod, Adrian, Craig, whoever, Richard, whoever wants
Gary,
whoever wants to up their coaching education, go. Or bring somebody out here who can actually give a level 4, a level 3 coaching course and upskill the coaches so that they can upskill their students, learn new things. I mean, I'm constantly looking on YouTube to see what all the other guys are doing. And I'm constantly changing my thought patterns on what I think works, because you can't just keep doing the same things. You know, it doesn't work. And we have to, if our players aren't getting any better, maybe it's because the coaches aren't good enough. You know, maybe we're not using the right techniques to coach them. Maybe we're not taking their game to the next level because we don't know how. You know, you don't know. So I would invest heavily on coach education, and I would get the scientists involved in our training. You know, I do a lot of physical stuff with the kids that I coach, and it's stuff that I've used myself. It's stuff that I've researched, that I know works, and I get the guys involved. But I'm not a scientist. I don't pretend to know that stuff. I go from experience. But it would be great if you had a group of high performance kids. I'm talking players, not kids. Guys who want to be pros, and they go to a athletic coach to learn how to run better. They go to a strength coach, like an Olympic lifting coach, to teach them how to lift better. You know, I want to bring in the experts to teach their expert knowledge to the squash player, because a squash player is no longer a squash player. A squash player is now a high-performing athlete, and we have to treat them as such. The game has changed. You know, you just look at the likes of Paul Cole and Joel Mencken and how strong and physical those guys are. But you need somebody that can recognize a player's body type and know what that guy has to do to make him stronger. You know, like someone like Tabuki. Can you imagine putting Tabuki under an Olympic bar? You know, it'll crush it. But you look at someone like Ruan or JP, the guy's a machine. So you need somebody who knows what they're doing to coach those guys in their aspect. And everybody, that guy must be able to coach across the board, but be able to say, all right, you do that, you do that, you do that. as a coach, I'm like, okay, I think this is what you should do. This is what I think you should do. And I might be right, but I might be doing something horribly wrong and destroying the kid.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what I would do. I'd invest heavily in coach education, and I would get the experts training the players in their respective fields.
Mm-hmm. No, that's good, Rodgers. We're coming to the back end of it. Let me ask you a quick question here about switching gears a little bit. If there were 5 people that you could invite to a dinner, right? Dead or alive?
Dead or alive.
Who would those people be? Like some people that you'd like to learn from, speak to, just have a conversation with, your favorite people.
5 people to dinner, hey?
Mm-hmm.
From anywhere in the world.
Anything, whatever you want.
Sure.
I remember asking Zooks this, and he couldn't answer this question. I said I thought he'd have Tiger Woods, and he said, like, well, I wouldn't want to have dinner with Tiger Woods. So I was just like, okay, you know, but any people that you find interesting that you'd have you want to have a conversation with, learn from, just chat to, whatever it is, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, I said my 5 would have been Roger Federer, Obama, Mandela. I said Tupac, and I said Biggie. I don't know if you know who Tupac and Biggie are, Rodgers, but
I do. You've educated me enough so that I know who those guys are now.
But
so 5 people to dinner, hey?
Yeah.
From any time in history, hey?
Anytime.
That is a tough one, hey? I think sporting greats. I think
it doesn't have to be sporting. It's whoever you would want to have. Like I said, I had Obama and Mandela. Like I don't know if Mandela can swing a squash racket. You know.
I think someone like Muhammad Ali would be fun to have at a party.
That's a great one.
Yeah,
I had to choose between him and Mandela, and I chose Mandela. Okay, Muhammad Ali.
I think he'd be fun.
Mm-hmm.
I think he'd be a lot of fun. I think. You see, the problem is my experience with top sportsmen is that generally they're not the most exciting people.
Dude,
you know, they're so dedicated.
This is your list, so you gotta pick whoever you want. Like it doesn't have to be sport. That's what I was saying. Yeah, I mean, I said Mandela, Obama, Tupac, Biggie. I had one sportsman there. There's Roger Federer.
Okay. I think Hansi Cronje could be interesting.
Hansi?
Yeah. Possibly Gary Player.
Gary Player. Oh, that's a goodie.
Yeah. I think the stories that I could tell would be pretty fascinating. Yeah. Andre Agassi.
Andre, I like that.
Yeah. And then, I wouldn't mind if my dad had to pop in for that dinner. I think that would be good.
Pops?
Yeah.
Shout out Pops.
Yeah,
I love his goatee.
I think he'd enjoy that.
Love his goatee.
Actually, it'd be good fun in that is old. I wouldn't mind Serena Williams coming to that party too.
Serena,
I think she'd be good. Yeah, I think she's pretty awesome. I really like her. I think she's the tenacity and the fight in that is just
super
inspiring.
Feisty.
Super feisty,
yeah. Okay, we're gonna go to our quick fire section here. Okay. Quick answers, Rodgers. Okay.
Alrighty.
Here we go. Chicken or beef?
Beef.
Beer, wine, or shots?
Shots.
100 core sprints or 100 burpees?
Definitely 100 burpees.
100 burpees.
Yeah.
Okay, you're the only one that has ever said that. Okay. Altitude or coast?
Oh, there's only one answer there. Coast.
First
Nobody
job.
says altitude for that.
Maybe in a few in my next couple of episodes, like we'll see. First
Yeah.
Jarvis win or fifth or sixth for you? Sixth Jarvis.
I think the 6th.
Sixth.
Yeah.
Yes. Nationals or Jarvis?
I'd go Jarvis.
Okay. Oh, this is a weird one.
Oh dear. Why are you looking at it and saying it's a weird one?
I'm going to ask you the last one, the weird one afterwards. Okay, forehand or backhand?
Backhand.
Backhand.
Backhand volley drop.
Backhand
to
volley
be precise.
drop. Okay, to be precise. Okay. Why do you always call me Zooks?
You know, it's because you guys look alike. I don't know.
No, we don't, Rodney. That's the absolute worst answer you could give right now. Okay, we'll skip that. We'll skip that.
Yeah, skip that one. Skip that one.
Okay. What is the best piece of advice you've received? And what is it?
Okay, so this is an interesting one actually, because let's face it, in the last sort of 35 years of playing squash, I've received a lot of advice. I think in my early days, one of the first guys to hit with me was a friend of my dad. And one of the things he told me was, if you can volley. Don't leave it. Don't ever leave it to go to the back. If you can volley. And he instilled that in me by hitting cross courts at me and just saying, volley the cross court, volley. Don't let a cross court go past you. He's a guy by the name of Tony Minnar. I think he's been gone a long time now, because he was old when I was young. But that was a piece of advice that's obviously that stuck with me through all the years. But there was another piece of advice that was given to me sort of more recently. I think it was after I retired, that actually had more impact on me than it was one of those things I wish I'd heard long time ago. And it actually not only had an impact on me, but it had an impact on Hector, my son.
Shout out,
and that
Hector.
Was yeah, and
Be
it was
humble.
And that was it. That was the advice. That was the advice that was given to me, was be humble, be. And I can't remember.
You shared that.
You said that. You shared that with me, and you shared it with me and Hector. And it's something that certainly stuck with him. I think it may have stuck with him because it rhymed. You know, he was like, be humble, be humble. And then every time that we've had an opportunity at a squash tournament where he's played, an occasion has arisen during one of the matches where that has come to the fore, where I've kind of had to remind him, listen, what does Clinton say? And he goes, be humble, be. Okay. And then it calms him down and it keeps him grounded. And I've found over the years that it's helped me relax a lot as well, where, you know, sometimes you're playing in a tournament and things get very heated. And you always got to remember, you know, just be humble. You know, it's not the end of the world if you lose. It's okay. But I think that's one of the things I've only really come to the fore with that once I've retired, because I think when I was playing on the tour, everything was just so aggressive. You know, you're fighting for your life, you're fighting for money, you're fighting for your next meal, and those kind of thoughts get lost when you're in that blinkered way of thinking. And I think what it's taught me is that if you're too blinkered, if you're not humble, you miss other opportunities that come your way, whether it's an opportunity of just simply meeting somebody new. You know, be humble, give them the time that they deserve, that they earn. You know, they want to talk to you, listen to them, because even though in your own mind you don't know who they are, you know, they could just be someone who's watched you play and he wants to talk to you, and you never know what that person has to say. And if you're not humble enough to be able to listen, you're going to miss it. You're not going to hear what that guy has to say. And you know, sometimes it's nothing. But there's always going to be that time when it could be, he could say something life-changing to you. And if you're not humble enough to listen and be able to accept what he's saying, then you're going to miss it. So those were very sincere words of wisdom that have stayed with me for a while. So thanks, Lee.
Rod, it's been a pleasure talking to you. And as I said, like many times, I'm sure obviously you know that the impact that you've had on my life and my career, it's just been a pleasure. And like, you know, for you to say like some words that I've said have not only impacted you but impacted your son is in a way is you know, in the words of Clint, is humbling. It's humbling. So you know, I yeah, just in closing, just appreciate your friendship, your leadership, and you know, despite whatever happens in life, and you know, I just want to share, like you've made a massive impact. Like if it wasn't for somebody, you know, like yourself, Eugene, Zuko, Merrill, you know, guys like Adrian, even Wapo, Toots, you know, the impact that you guys have had on my life, and you know, knowingly or unknowingly, I wouldn't have been where I am. And not that I'm anywhere, but you know, at least I'm able to just have this conversation with you, you know. So I appreciate you, and thank you and Zoe and Hector for that. You know, it's been an absolute pleasure, and I'm looking forward to the next. You know, I don't know how long I've known you, maybe 20. Well, it's probably not 20 years, but it's like maybe like 15 or so years. I'm looking forward to the next 15, 20, 50 years, you know, chewing the fat with you and, you know, reminiscing again, you know. So it's been great. So I really appreciate you, your friendship, your leadership, and everything, you know. Shot,
Oh,
right?
thanks, Clint. Thanks very much, Clint. And it's also great catching up, man.